Jeff and Jesse together again for the final segment on the Week 9 show. Jeff, we talk about this every single week. This is a labor of love that we do together. It's been great being on the set again this week, producing this show. The people that watch at home know about the website, testosteronesports.com. We urge you like crazy, come onto the website when the show is over. We do this thing called the Fat Chat. We haven't talked about it very much on this show, Jeff. Break it down for the people at home. What can they expect? Fat Chat, testosteronesports.com.
Well, it's a great big group of fantasy football junkies who are all together strategizing for each person's coming up matchup. So if you have questions about who to play and who should ride your pine, come on to testosteronesports.com. Log in, come on to the Fat Chat. We'll be there directly after this show is over. We'd love to get to know you guys and help you out with lineup questions. I've got a couple this week.
Right.
It's crunch time in fantasy football. Wins are very, very important. So you want to have your most potent lineup in action here this weekend, and we'd like to think that we can help you out with that.
Yeah, and in this era of inflated prices and deflated dollar, all the stagflation and economy grizzle that we're going through, we have reduced our price it's a low premium of $0. It will cost you absolutely nothing to come onto our site, chat with a bunch of other guys that love fantasy football. We're on there every single week after the show, testosteronesports.com. Don't be bashful. Don't be a biatch. Jump on there. Get it done. Dominate your fantasy lineup. So into the final four matchups, Jeff. I've been really impressed so far this season with what the Atlanta Falcons have put together, totally overhauling their regime. They're just 1 year removed from the Michael Vick fiasco, really, and they're turning it around. They traveled this week to face Oakland. Can the Falcons go on the road again and win another big game? They've already done it at Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, this one's got to feel like a cakewalk for them. I mean, they've beaten several good teams in their house. And when it comes to the Coliseum, I mean, it's not like they're going in there as the gladiator facing against the lion.
Right.
This team has a great chance to compete against the Raiders. They match up really well. I think that they're going to get it going offensively. I really like Matt Ryan. We talked about this a little before the show. There's a good chance that he's going to be your Rookie of the Year. And
I think he will be.
I didn't really see that coming, but it's been great. One thing that's aided him in his process has been the development and explosion of Roddy White. It's been really nice to see. He's third in the NFL on the yardage list, 679 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's a breakout player right there.
Absolutely.
And Matt Ryan doing a fantastic job. He stays cool under pressure, hangs in the pocket, and I love Michael Turner and what he does on the ground. I say start your Falcons in this game.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Those three guys are the Falcons players to have rolling in this matchup. And then on the Oakland side of things, I really think there's only one, maybe two guys you could potentially play here. News this week coming out that Darren McFadden, the Studley rookie for Oakland, may not play again this week in this matchup. He still has the toe grizzle on one foot, and now it's come out, Jeff, that he's got toe grizzle on the other foot too. He was wearing Nike shoes, and he wore Adidas in college, and now these Nike shoes are causing him double toe pains.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Justin Fargas makes a pretty good play because defensively the Falcons aren't 100% with it. I also like Javon Walker in a little bit of a way. If you're absolutely hamstrung this weekend and you need a player, he's not going to be facing against much talent at the cornerback position, so I think he could get in the end zone. Depends on if he wants to. And hopefully he does here in this game for the home fans. I think that Walker's a pretty good play, and I predict a touchdown from him here in this matchup, but it's going to be tough for the Raiders to win.
Yeah, the other guy you could play would be Zach Miller, the tight end.
Sure.
So it's basically those three guys. You don't want to start Michael Bush in this matchup. I personally think Fargas is a solid play, as you mentioned too. He's getting the Lions' share of the work, and so that's a good omen. I mean, let's remember that Brian Westbrook had a career-high 160-plus yard rushing last week against these same Falcons.
And that makes a fantastic segue. You know, one quick thing of note, if you've got Darren McFadden, hopefully you got him in a Dynasty League. It's a great time to trade him right now. I'm sure there's a cellar dweller in your team who would love to keep the talented young back going into next season in 2009. So you might even be able to turn him into something as good as Brian Westbrook.
Who'd be able to do something like that?
I mean, I know one person who was able to do it.
Congratulations.
A chance to play against my good friend Namdi this weekend in a tough divisional matchup. I can't wait. And I don't want to crow too much because we do have yet to tee it up, but it is a concept that you need to look at. You know, take a look at the teams who are out of it. This is Dynasty talk only. teams in the cellar in your league, you've got a chance to trade your underperforming, highly talented player to a guy who might keep him for next year and help the ebb and flow come back for his upswing next season. You can get a quality player that's possibly too valuable. You might be able to do a 2-for-1 in that situation. Give yourself a great player for your playoff push now. So take a look at your options there for dynasty players. It makes good sense.
Yeah, we start the segment off talking about one guy. We're going to conclude this segment talking about another guy who's a great sell now type player as fantasy moves into the latter weeks. Because let's remember, 7-1, 8-1 starts don't matter much if you don't bring home the hardware. So pay attention to what we're saying here. We're dropping knowledge. Philadelphia traveling to Seattle, and I think they're going to drop some knowledge on the Seahawks. Jeff, the Seahawks have really lost their way this season. Philadelphia playing ball at a high level. Brian Westbrook silencing all critics last week, put up 209 yards all-purpose and a pair of touchdowns, popping for big plays, 28 touches. He's a must start in this game, and I think Philadelphia is going to get it going in a big way against the Seahawks.
Yeah, the thing about Philadelphia has been their defense. They've really locked it down on both the passing and the rushing side. It's been interesting to see what they can do because they do it fairly nondescript. It really seems like defensive coordinator Jim Johnson is firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely.
He's awesome at dialing up the blitz. I'd love to watch them play because they're a very pride-filled team, and they always seem to hit harder than the other squad. So I think that they're going to go in and they're going to beat up on Seattle.
Me too.
I don't think there's much going to happen for the Seahawks. Matt Hasselbeck's still out. Seneca Wallace looked decent last week, but this is a top 10 secondary, so
right.
I don't think he's going to get much going. You're going to have to reserve him, and they don't have much of a rushing game either. They don't even give the ball to Julius Jones
I
anymore.
can't name a single Seahawk that I would start in this game or advise a fantasy owner to start in this game.
Maybe John Carlson.
That would be the one fringe guy, but even he is very fringe in this situation because, as Jeff said, Seneca Wallace is moderately effective, but against a blitzing D like this, I think this could be the hog pile situation where by the end of the game, Philly's up like 43-7.
And the 12th man is going to be drunk by like the middle of the second quarter.
Right, and the ladies on the balcony are going to be flashing tatas.
This isn't New Orleans, bro.
Oh. But they do that there. They do that there.
They're going to be smelling fish.
Yeah. Ooh. Wah, 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 wah.
You're a drummer. You need to bring a little drum set for
little rim shot. Okay, well, on to the next matchup, an NFC East clash. The Dallas Cowboys have definitely kind of derailed a little bit, even before Tony Romo's injury, but especially now with Romo being injured. We're hearing news now this week that Jason Witten has a broken rib, may not play in this must-win game. Dallas against the Giants. I'm sporting the Kraken jersey. I think the Giants are about to release the Kraken against Dallas.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jesse, I was really impressed with the Giants as a team, to the way they hung with and then beat Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh.
Was so impressive. I just think that this team is a complete nucleus, and I'm very impressed with the developments that Eli Manning has taken. He's a great fantasy play now for you, and I think things continue here. Dallas secondary has taken a couple hits in the injury department, so I definitely think that Eli will be able to hook up with Burris. Burris has yet to kind of really get into a rhythm after having the suspension grizzle. I think he starts to get things going here. They're at home, not on the road. They're in a divisional game. They're going to be up for it big, and like you, Jesse, I really think that the Kraken is going to really crack some heads.
I do too, Jeff. I completely see this game as a statement game for the Giants to say, we won the Super Bowl last year, but a lot of people, ourselves included, didn't really give this team a fair shot to dominate in the 08 season, and they're really proving a lot of people wrong. Eli playing at a continually high level. This running game does it with Jacobs and does it also with Ward. Last week, Burris did not play for the first quarter and a half. They weren't really dissuaded. He didn't have a big game, but yet they go in and they win. I think this week the Giants have a very big game. I say start all your key Giants, and on the flip side, Dallas, they've got some question marks right now. They have the injury to Romo, the injury to Witten, and I wonder how much longer T.O. is going to be able to stay dormant as far as from a stat line goes without having an eruption on the sideline.
Yeah, well, with this injury to Witten, I'm sure that the Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator, is saying thank God for Roy Williams, because at least they still have two quality targets that they can throw the ball to. If they didn't have him, they'd have Patrick Creighton over there. he's a subpar player. He's never shown the ability to step to that next level. Roy Williams has. Without Witten, if they didn't have Roy Williams, Marion Barber would see 8 and 9 guys in the box, and they'd look a little bit like the Vikings.
Right.
So at least they've got those 2 targets that can stretch the field. I think they get things going a little bit. You can really throw against the Giants. So I do think they will find success through the air, and then Barber should be able to get the things going through the play-action pass as well. So I think that it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I do like the Giants to win.
I think the Giants will win that one. Now, all bets are off for Dallas if they end up with Brooks Bollinger in their lineup, because this week Brooks Bollinger's
on their team?
Yeah, Brooks Bollinger.
Remember when we had Brad Johnson as our number 1 and Brooks Bollinger as our backup?
Well, they're now in that situation, and Brooks Bollinger has been receiving more snaps in practice. They're even saying there's a possibility Brooks Bollinger could get into the game early if Brad Johnson struggles.
I mean, Jerry and Wade, with all the good teams in the NFL, you take a page from the Vikings? What's up with that?
Especially at the quarterback position.
Are you crazy, man?
Maybe T-Jack will be down there next year.
You need to take that thumb out of there sometimes.
Ouch.
Remove your head once in a while.
Pittsburgh at Washington, the final matchup of the show as we wind down the Week 9 episode. The Steelers are definitely going to be welcoming back Willie Parker this week. He didn't play last week, didn't play a couple weeks before their bye. I know I have Willie Parker in one league. It's a tough matchup to start him in his first game back against Washington.
I don't think it's a definite that he plays. I mean, the last report I saw, and you may have seen a more recent one, but he worked out on Tuesday for the team. For head coach Tomlin specifically, and then Tomlin addressed the media, and he said that we'll see how Willie feels tomorrow. We'll see if he can participate in practice tomorrow.
He practiced on Wednesday and is supposed to practice. We taped the show on Thursday. He's supposed to practice today. The latest I've heard is that he will play.
Okay, so that's pure speculation at this point. I suspect him to be a game-time decision. I think that knee isn't right, and I am concerned as well that Willie were to rush himself back. This is a player whose game is completely predicated on speed. And if he were to tear that sprained ligament, he'd lose a step. Willie Parker would be over. Fast Willie would be like, trudging through the mud Willie. And I just don't think that's going to be very good for them.
Right. Now, on the flip side, Washington, I mentioned a couple minutes ago that there's a player in this segment we would also be touching on about a great time to trade a specific player. We've come up with a formula here in our house, Jeff, of if you get off to a hot start, 7 or 8 wins out of your first 9 or 10 games, sometimes, as crazy as it sounds, it's a good idea to trade an overvalued player. Clinton Portis is the #1 back in fantasy leagues right now. Can he keep it up, or would right now be a good time to sell high on Clinton Portis?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure. We definitely know that you want to buy low and sell high. So the stock is as high as it could ever be up Clinton Portis right now. I do think there's a great chance that he finishes the season with the top 5 rushing totals, and it's been a while since he's been in that category. So I wouldn't be surprised. I do believe that he's got the heart and soul to finish as #1, and if he does, he's going to power your teams to a fantasy championship. So he's on a great tear. I do think that he'll take a little bit of a step back as the season wears on. So if you can get 2 or 3 players for him, finish off your roster for your playoff push, taking a look at the matchups down the stretch, then I think that would be advisable. If you're not going to get a whole lot for him, if you're in a yardage-only league, you're not going to get as much for him, then you might want to back off of that. So it really depends on your situation. Here's another good reason to come onto the Fat Chat. You can run trades past us, something we like to do each and every week. Get our take about it, because you want to trade him if you're getting quality for him, but you don't want to trade him
you
for
can't just trade him to
Thomas Jones and LJ.
Right, yeah, you can't just trade him for the sake of trading him, but we've seen this play out. Very rarely does the team that starts on the 7 or 8 game winning streak at the beginning of the season win the league, because the league is an ebb and flow league. Guys that play great don't play great for all 16 games unless they're LaDainian Tomlinson in his best season, or a Priest Holmes in his best season. But oftentimes these players play really well for 7, 8, 10 games in a row, and then they slow down later because they're human beings.
I mean, for me right now it's a little bit early. I think the jury's still out because it's Portis. He's a very special, talented back.
I'm not saying
this is Kid Bro Sweets, man. This could be his best season.
Impossible.
Okay, well, so you say.
I'm not saying he's not going to be good down the stretch, but I mean,
all backs have a career season.
His career seasons were his first 2 in Denver.
Yes, well.
We talked about this before the show. Now you're backtracking on me.
I've been thinking about it since we talked
All right.
about it.
Well, we need to sign off because you've been talking about it a lot too. We'll do the classic sign off here for you TFS junkies. Don't forget to jump onto the website, testosteronesports.com, for the Fat Chat as we wrap up here every single week, because if you want to win,
you must tune in.
God, you talk a lot on testosterone fantasy sports.